Hey everyone, if you're in Roseville, Minnesota, you already know it's an amazing spot for dogs. But to really get the most out of it, you need a dog that's, well, a good companion. That's what this is all about. A guide to help you find the perfect trainer so you and your dog can enjoy everything this city has to offer.
Just think about it for a second. Wouldn't you love a relaxing walk on the Fredmore Trail? Or how about not getting your arm yanked off when you're just trying to walk past Harmar Mall? Right? These are the real-life things where good training isn't just nice to have, it's essential.
So here's what we're going to walk through. First, we'll talk about training specifically for life in Roseville. Then we'll get into different training methods, how to actually pick a trainer, and what it costs. We'll also cover the must-ask questions and finish up with some local rules and resources you'll want to know.
All right, first up, let's talk about setting the right goals. Because honestly, good training is so much more than just sit and stay. It's really about getting your dog ready for your life, right here in Roseville.
You see, a really good trainer gets this. They'll help you tackle the real stuff. Like keeping your dog calm when there are a million distractions at Central Park, focusing near the farmer's market, or not lunging at every person on Snelling Avenue. That's what makes a dog a great neighbor,
Okay, so how do we build that solid foundation? It really comes down to the training methods. The philosophy behind it all is, well, it's everything. Modern, effective training is all about trust and good communication.
And these days, the method that pretty much all the experts recommend is positive reinforcement. The idea is so simple, but it works. You just reward the behavior you want to see again. It could be a treat, praise, a toy, whatever your dog loves. It makes learning fun, not scary.
And this really shows you the two sides of the coin. With reward-based training, you're building a confident dog. You're creating changes that actually stick. But with fear-based methods, using intimidation, maybe even pain, that can just create a whole lot of anxiety, and it's just not as effective in the long run. For a family pet, it's really a no-brainer, right?
So, what are we talking about here? What are these foundational skills? Well, it's the basics. Sit, down, stay, but also the big ones, like place, a rock-solid recall. That means they come when you call them, every time. And of course, loose leash walking. These are the skills that give you and your dog the freedom to safely enjoy all those great Roseville spots.
All right, so you're on board with positive reinforcement. Now, how do you find the right person to actually teach you and your dog? Let's get into how to vet the professionals. Okay, so this is interesting. Minnesota doesn't actually have a licensing requirement for dog trainers. So how do you know who's legit? Well, certifications are a huge clue. These letters might look like alphabet soup, but they mean a trainer has put in the work. A CPDTK, for example, shows they have great general skills. KPA, CTP, is all about positive reinforcement. And if you see something like a CBCCK or IABC, that means they're a behavior consultant, someone who can handle more serious issues.
Then you've got to decide on the format. Group classes? They're awesome for socialization, and they're usually easier on the wallet. Plus, your dog learns to focus with other dogs around. Private lessons, on the other hand, are totally customized. They're perfect if you have a specific issue, like your dog going bonkers every time the doorbell rings.
And that brings us to the question on everyone's mind, the cost. Let's break down what you can expect to budget for training here in the Roseville area. So what's this actually going to cost? It's a fair question, right? It definitely depends on what you need, but we can give you some pretty solid ballpark figures.
Okay, take a look at these typical costs for 2025. A group class that runs for a few weeks might be in that $170 to $310 range. A one-on-one private lesson, you're probably looking at $120 to $200 a session. And then you have the really intensive options, like a board and train program, and that's a much bigger investment. It's all about finding the right fit for your goals and your budget. So, you've got a couple of trainers in mind. Now it's time to talk to them. Think of it like an interview. And to help you out, we've put together a little checklist of questions.
You're definitely going to want to cover these things. First, straight up ask, what training methods do you use? Ask about their certifications. And this one's important. How will you tailor the plan for my dog and my goals? You also want to know how they track progress, get a clear picture of the total costs, and ask if they offer any kind of follow-up support once you're done.
Okay, last section. Let's bring this all back home. Because having a well-trained dog is also about being a great, responsible dog owner here in Roseville, and that means knowing the local rules.
Here are the big ones you need to know. In public, your dog has to be on a leash that's no longer than 6 feet, unless you're in a designated dog park, of course. A current rabies vaccine isn't just a good idea, it's the law. Ramsey County also requires a license for your dog.
And, something to keep in mind, a lot of barking can actually be considered a nuisance violation. Good training can definitely help with that.
So, where do you go to practice all these awesome new skills? Well, you've got some great options. The off-leash park at Central Park or Langdon Lake Park is fantastic for working on recall. And for practicing that nice, calm, loose leash walking, you can't beat the trails at nearby Como or Lake Phalen Regional Park.
You know, at the end of the day, that's what this is all for. It's not about having a perfect robot dog. It's about building an incredible partnership. It just makes all those little moments, a stroll through Central Park, saying hi to your neighbors, or even just having a quiet evening at home, so much more enjoyable for everybody. We wish you the very best of luck in finding that perfect training partner for you and your dog.